Hey everyone, welcome to our webinar today. I'm gonna wait just a moment here. I see the attendee numbers are going crazy on my screen, so we'll give everybody a few seconds here to get connected and then we'll get started. And while you're joining us, if you'll just take a second, look over at your GoToWebinar control panel. I want to make sure that everybody can see that, has access to that. There's a spot down there to ask questions, to chat. So while we're waiting for everybody else to join us, if you want to go in and find that section, maybe just type in there where you're joining us from. They'll give us an idea of where everybody's at, and will let us know that you have access to that panel and can use it. Awesome, appreciate it, Doug. Buffalo, New York, that's what I like. I'm in Rochester, so close by. We see Chattanooga, Columbus, Maryland, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Ontario, Canada, nice. We got a good mix of people. Give everyone just a few more seconds here. Awesome, and then I guess while we're waiting here, I'm going to have Michelle, if you can hear me, I'd have Michelle go ahead and launch a poll here for you. And so if you want to click on here, let us know, do you currently use Leap? Do you use Improve It 360? Do you not use either? Or do you not use them yet? And go ahead and click those and we'll give you guys a second to do that. Awesome. If you just joined us, we're going to get kicked off here in about 2 seconds. And just there's a quick poll here asking you, if you use Leap, do you use Improve It 360, do you use both, or do you not use either yet? Michelle, if you want to leave that up for maybe just a couple more seconds and then we can close that and we'll go ahead and get started. Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. I still see there's still people trickling in, so that's fine. But I want to be respectful of everybody's time. And we're joined today by Mike from Long Roofing, and he's got some really great information that he's going to share with us. But first, just wanted to welcome you to it. I appreciate everyone joining. I know there's a lot going on in the world, and I'm sure in your lives today. And appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us for this webinar. I think you'll find it really interesting, and hopefully you'll take away a lot from it. So with that, I want to first introduce our sponsors. So I've got Caroline on from Improve It 360. And Caroline, if you want to go ahead and let everyone know, what Improve It 360 is if they don't know.
Absolutely. Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day today. I am Caroline Crawford. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Relationship Management here at Improve It 360. And Improve It 360 is a business optimization software platform. It is a CRM that is built exclusively for remodelers, specialty contractors, and home pros to really help you run your business better. We allow you to manage everything from prospect to project and everything in between. So think about the ability to automate, manage, transform, and grow your business. Automate in order to eliminate manual processes, manage your business to be able to identify exactly, track and manage your sales, your prospect reach out, your projects, your customers, everything. Transform your business because you have real-time insight into all of this information. And be able to grow your business because there's built-in best practices for this industry. We were from the industry, for the industry. We know how to help folks get through times like this by really going back and managing those prospects that you have. So A great platform for anybody that's interested. We have all our contact information at the end of this, but I'm really looking forward to hearing from Mike and his perspective on technology and how it can help you grow your business.
Awesome. Thanks, Caroline. Really appreciate that. Likewise, I'll tell you a little bit about Leap. Leap's a digital sales platform, if you will, that is helping contractors digitize their sales process. Super relevant in today's time, but Leap's actually got its start a while back, similar to what Caroline was saying. It got started by an in-home sales professional and realizing that you could automate a lot of the tasks and make things more seamless, more efficient. And so what Leap does is digitize every stage of the in-home sales process, from estimating to financing, contracting, proposals, houses your resources, pitch books, digital brochures, all those things. So again, we can definitely talk more about this. There'll be more info at the end, but without too much here, I want to get into the meat and potatoes of our discussion here. If you don't know about Long Roofing, Long Roofing's got a really storied history. They began back in 1945 as a fence company, and then they evolved into incorporating roofing, windows, siding, doors, and now they have two kind of centralized locations. One in Beltsville, which is in between between DC and Baltimore, and another one just south of Boston in Canton, Mass. Long Roofing's got over 100 employees. They've got a sales team that hovers anywhere from 35 to 50 sales reps. And Mike's joining us from Long Roofing. Mike's been with the company with 7+ years, and got his way into roofing as a sales rep. So today, Mike trains every sales rep that comes into Long Roofing, both in their initial training as well as ongoing training as they're adopting technology. And so that's why we wanted to bring Mike in, have him talk to us about how Long utilizes technology, what they're seeing in the field, what things are like today, and what you can do to help your company grow in the future. So Mike, thanks for joining us.
Well, Tom, thank you very much. Everyone, thank you for taking the time out, like Caroline said as well. I know you're all busy, and as are we, and taking the time out to better yourself, better your company. Kudos to everyone. Tom, thank you for that flattering introduction. I appreciate it. So yeah, we using tech. Folks, nowadays, especially in the last month, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if you're not using tech, you're creating an objection that you can't overcome. I don't want you out of my house. I don't want you in my house. I don't want you on my property. Well, how can we still get to that customer? So we're gonna dive into what we do and share it with you. This is a time where we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to keep our doors open, and anything we can share with you today, any contact information at the end. Anyone reach out to me. I'd love to network with you and find out what you're doing, what we're doing, and see if we can both help each other.
Appreciate that, Mike. Yeah, it's funny. I didn't even get a chance to talk about your double major or the good photo you got here.
I tell you, Tom, right? I told you, flattery gets you everywhere.
So we'll dive right in here. We've got a slew of questions here or so, and we'll use these kind of as a frame of reference, but really this will be really conversational based, and want to get your take and understanding as somebody who utilizes the technology in and out every day, to understand what it is that you're using, how you're using it, how you're implementing it, what the benefit is to the business, and how you leverage that. So our first question here, as an industry leader, how do you view technology in this space?
Well, two sides. If we're using, this is a very popular word right now, essential. Technology is essential in this space. So let's look at it from the customer side of it. The customer views it as, oh wow, that's cool. Like you have a presentation, you have the iPad, you're estimating. We use Hover. You take 8 pictures of my house. I have a 3D model, exact measurements. wow, you guys are really going the extra mile. If the customer views you as going the extra mile in the front end, then you're probably in their mind, which is all that matters, their perception, you're going to follow through on the back end. So it's easy to go out and write a contract. The hard thing is following through all the way, installing, doing it right, not having to do a service, etc. So that's the perception it gives the customer. On the back end, though, on our end, the ease for the sales rep to write a contract, it automatically gets uploaded into i360. It creates a sale. The breakdown gets inputted into 360. All the breakdown results the appointment, creates a sale, or creates, if unfortunately we don't sell the job, then it creates a marketing opportunity on the back end for a rehash or market recovery. It's huge. I mean, I remember when I was selling, I lived 40 some miles away from the office, and if I ran a lead by my house, the next day I had to drive to the office just to hand in a check and paper contracts. Now that's not the case. So again, essential in this space, and we'll dive into more on Hover and Leap and the 360 combo.
Yeah, awesome. Really appreciate that. I think it's important too to note, it might not always be what can you do to adapt to today's environment, but how can you utilize this time to adapt technology that's going to not only help in today's environment, but help you down the road as well. So hopefully as we go through here, you'll see some other things in here that you can begin to implement soon that will really set you up for success, and so that you're not having to make that hard pivot when something like the situation we're in today happens. So let me click on this next slide. All right, Mike, so for companies that are your size, how does technology help you stay ahead of the competition?
Well, I think the goal is always to, we're always trying, everyone's trying to stay ahead of the next person that's on their heels. I wouldn't go as far as say like technology can sink or make you, but why not have it? Why not make it efficient? I'll give you, an example. When I went to our owner and said, "Hey, I want to go all digital," and John looked at me and said, "Whoa, all digital? What do you mean? No, we're going to do this. And it's like, if we take the amount of money that we spend just on carbon copy contracts and then switch that to a digital platform, the efficiency, the dollar amount, the opportunity cost, the gas money, the morale of the rep, that the rep doesn't have to drive 100 miles out of their way just to drop off a contract. So all of that will help you stay ahead. You're going to have a sales rep that has more of a drive. They're going to have a better morale. We all know that positive mental attitude sells jobs. People buy from people. So when they're happy and they have to do less busy work or time in the car, which we all know the reps spend a lot of time in their car, if we can cut that all down, it makes us more efficient. Therefore, keeping us ahead of the competition, keeping us able to go to the next job, go to the next lead, and not have to worry about the last one because contract's already in, breakdown's already in, production's already starting to order and do the processing. So of companies of our size, it's absolutely a necessity. Smaller companies, I still think it's essential. It might not be absolutely necessary, but why not? When you're smaller, it's a lot easier to implement things when you're smaller than when you're big. So for companies that are on this call of our size, if you're not there, get there. It's going to be harder because you're big and the implementation's hard. But for companies that are smaller, let's talk about that. And I think Tom, that rolls into the next slide on smaller companies, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I just wanted, before we move to the next slide, I think you brought up a good point there too. There's, something that technology can help you do is really give you that ability to scale. And you mentioned, implementation, those type of things. And I think you're right. If you're a smaller company, now's the time to really start implementing these technologies, because if you have ambitions or plan on growing as a company, you want to take advantage of where you're at today to be able to scale the company and leverage the technologies to the best of their ability. I know you guys have multiple offices. How does technology play a role in that?
Well, that's a good point. So let's go back to the pitch book days. And I just talked to a company yesterday that still does pitch books, still does carbon copy contracts, and that's okay. I mean, they still work. But to your point, we have our Boston office. When I have a new rep that starts up there, they either come to our corporate office in Beltsville, Maryland, or I fly up there and I train them for 2 weeks up in the Massachusetts area. If I have to create a new pitch book, so print out everything, put it in the sleeves, then give them, all right, here's all your contracts. It's a pain. If we hire a new rep, I just add them to Leap. Everything's in there. I can do a Zoom meeting and sit there with them and share my screen. And I just did it with a rep that we had started a week ago. I trained him for 2 weeks every day on Zoom. I shared my screen. I showed him, our sales manual, our presentation, how to use Leap, how to result things, how to estimate things, how to use Hover. And if we didn't have that capability, it would have required me in this trying time to have to go to Massachusetts and spend 2 weeks up there training one person in 101, which takes me out of working on the business. So it's huge when you're starting to scale and you want to open up other offices. If you have all of this in place, it makes the transition a little easier, because it's never easy to open another office, but it'll make it easier in the long run.
Yeah, great. Appreciate that. I know we've had a ton of people join, I think, since the beginning, and so just wanted to, if you can just give people a little bit of color on the size of Long Roofing and what that looks like. I think that'd help add a little bit of color.
Yeah, absolutely. So the common misconception is we do fencing. We don't do any fencing. Long Fence does fencing. They started in 45, and then in 1960, the original owners, Henry's son Bob, took over, bought the company from his father, and then started growing it. The tags you see on all the Long Fence, he was the first one in the United States to put a tag on a fence. He did it for warranty purposes, but it turned into a marketing genius idea. And then in 1994, the home division started, which we are Long Fence and Home, and now go by Long Roofing. So 26 years, and you'll see on the screen, roofing, windows, doors, baths, and siding is what we focus on. Mostly in roofing. We work in 8 states and the district. So we have a nice span from the Mid-Atlantic up to the Northeast New England area.
Yeah, awesome. And what about over 100 employees?
Yeah, about 115, 120.
Yeah, it's so when you talk about how does technology help, it really helps in those when you've got that many employees and if you have ambitions of growing a company to that type of size, you really need these different technologies in place in order to help that growth and efficiency. Awesome. So next question, what are some of the key technologies new companies should adapt to grow their business?
So that's the $1 million question. When you're new, if you're smaller, ideas are wonderful. They are great. We were talking before the webinar started that Eleanor Roosevelt said that great minds think of ideas or talk about ideas. Ideas are wonderful if you can implement them, and that's the biggest thing that I see smaller companies that I network with that have an issue with is implementation. Oh, great, you guys use Leap. Hey, you guys use 360. Wonderful. We want to use that, but they don't have someone that's dedicated to that, and you need that. So the biggest thing in whatever you choose to implement is have a plan of implementation. What's it going to look like 6 months, 12 months down the road? Because if you don't do that, I guarantee you're going to hit a wall somewhere, and more than likely you're going to throw the hands up. You don't have the bandwidth to do it, and it could have been beneficial for you, and now it's not even starting. So with that being said, I think I'm going to plug Leap here. I think something that's very nice. When we started with Leap, it was, hey Mike, rock and roll with Leap, add everything in there. And I said, and Mr. Stencil's probably gonna get mad at me for saying this, but I was like, man, I need help. I'm not an IT guy. I need help on this. So now the onboarding process with Leap, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, is much different than it was 2+ years ago.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's much more. The website is so much easier to use. It's so much easier to implement. It's so much easier to change things from your contract to your price guide to your estimating. So I would highly recommend Leap. If you're not using a CRM right now that talks to all parts of your business, you're behind the 8 ball. i360 is wonderful. It does work on the Salesforce platform, but is specifically designed for our process and our workflow in the home improvement in-home sales space. The other thing, Hover is absolutely wonderful. For anyone that is selling anything on the outside of the home, if you're not on Hover, call them today. I'll plug Mr. PJ, Philip Cowie, call him and say, I want to get on Hover. Give me 10 hovers I can do for free, and I want to go out and test it. You will fall in love with it. Customers fall in love with it. So that's huge. That talks to Leap as well. Prices everything for you, writes the contract. So it's a beautiful, smooth, seamless process all the way to moving on to the next lead.
Yeah, great. Appreciate that. One thing I wanted to ask too, if you're a new company, or maybe I'll change this from new to small company. I know that you guys are big into financing, and I know there's probably a lot of companies on here that don't offer financing. What's your opinion, or what's your take on smaller companies that are looking to grow and adopt technology?
Financing. I just got off the phone this morning with my cousin who owns a small business in Maryland, and he said right now he's coming into a major problem, which we all are. Hey, I want to figure out what the stock market's doing. I don't have my job right now. I need to figure this out. Well, what are the people telling us? That there's a liquidity issue. They don't have dollars. They don't have money to give us. So what's the other option? Okay, well, could you afford $95 a month? Well, yeah, I could do that. Okay, well, let's go down, we like to call it a flex plan. Sounds a little bit better than financing. But that if you're not offering financing, and I understand as a small business, and my cousin said it this morning, hey, that costs us money. Yes, it does cost you money, but what are you losing out on by not offering that? We have customers that move forward with us, and why did you move forward with us? Well, we liked everything, but you offered financing. So it is huge to offer financing. If you do offer financing, you're not doing e-docs in the home where the rep's signing the paperwork right there with the customer to seal everything up and wrap it up. You need to look into that. If you're not offering financing at all, the 2 points, 3 points, 5 points that it might cost you to use financing and offer it to a homeowner is a no-brainer. I guarantee you it'll raise your closing percentage by 10 to 15% at the minimum. We look at almost 3/4 of our business is financed. So with the amount of money, the amount of business that we do, I can't imagine how much of that we would not do if we did not offer financing to homeowners.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it's really important for a lot of people here, especially the time that we're in today. I think that objection is going to come up more often than not, and to have a solution in place is going to be really beneficial. So I know some of what we talked about are technologies that you use today. which I think are really valuable when you're a small company to get started with. I know, we talk a little bit about implementation. I think, like anything, I used to joke, had a company that was owned by three brothers, and working with them was like, I felt like I could get things moved quicker through GM than I could, this small mom and pop company. So I think it's important that when you're small, utilize, that as a strength to be able to implement technology that's going to help you scale and grow, because it's much easier to make these shifts and adjustments when you're small than when you get larger. So with that, Mike, what are some applications that Long uses, and maybe more importantly, what are features within those applications that you leverage, on a day-to-day basis, or that the sales team even leverages?
So starting with sales, Leap, i360, Hover, and then more on the back end, we use Swipe Simple, which is phenomenal. They're owned by WorldPay to take credit cards. The app is so user-friendly. It's wonderful. We also use VCheck. And so the point is, whatever you're using as far as payments, taking payments, estimating, writing a contract, if you have to do more than 2 steps, then you need to reevaluate. And what I mean by that is, if you're taking, if somebody has to write a contract and then hand that contract to someone else, stop. What are we doing? If somebody a rep has to go out to a house, measure a roof, and it takes them 35 minutes to measure the roof because the roof's huge. Hey, I've done it many, many times. But now we have Hover. They can take 8 pictures of the house and then focus on the customer. And it takes, I don't know, 2 minutes, 3 minutes to walk around the house, take the pictures. And then they get a full 3D model. They don't have to go measure. They don't have to do that. And they can spend more time asking the customer questions and figuring out how to solve their problems. So just we use GroupMe, which is integrated into Leap. So when someone results an appointment, boom, we get messages that are sent out to the teams with fun little emojis, and it either motivates someone to sell their next lead because it has a poop emoji there that they pooped the bed, or it has a fire emoji on there that they're coming in hot. I mean, so it motivates them both ways. Those fun little things, which are free, GroupMe is free, you can do to motivate your team and make it more seamless throughout the process.
Yeah, that's great. I used to tell people the story about when I used to sell roofing, and as a 100% commission sales rep, like I didn't get paid to pull a tape measure, right? Like I was paid to sell. So any kind of technology, and you mentioned Hover, like technology where I don't have to get out there and actually physically measure the roof, or where I don't have to sit there and write out a paper contract. All those are efficiencies that at the end of the day add up and allow me to be in front of more homeowners throughout the day. So whereas if I could only get to 2 appointments a day, with these different technologies layered in, you can start to get to 3 appointments or 4 appointments a day. And when you're looking at, a company, of course, of your size, Mike, like to get in front of more homeowners is going to equal more closed jobs. And so all these efficiencies in the technology stack, if you will, that you're utilizing, I'm sure you're seeing those type of small efficiencies add up into really much greater return.
Absolutely, Tom. I mean, think about this. I sat down, and when we first got Leap up and running, it takes 5 minutes to measure a rancher, a roof for a rancher. Okay, what's the width? What's the depth? All right, got it. Move on. Windows, for example. I did timing on windows and took 20 windows and priced them out by hand, measured them by hand, and then put them into Leap and did a couple different jobs. If you are selling windows, on average, from measuring, writing it down, pricing each line item, adding in your grids, adding in a reframe, whatever the case is, on average per appointment, that was saving me 35 to 45 minutes. And that's per appointment. I mean, how long are we in an appointment? 90 minutes to 2.5 hours. You know, you're looking at 25, 30% of your time was taken not looking at the customer, talking to the customer, but writing down, you know, window sizes and pricing it up. So it's huge in gaining efficiency.
Yeah, appreciate that. And then also, I guess on the flip side of that, and kind of moving away from sales, which is probably both of our fortes or specialties, even just moving that lead from, you know, from a lead to the sales funnel, to the sales cycle, and then pushing that to, you know, maybe to production or to other marketing efforts, you know, whether it's a rehash campaign or you know, a cross-selling campaign or any of those. You know, how do you guys move those leads kind of through that funnel to remain efficient so that the sales reps you know, can focus on their job and sell?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I like when the reps focus on demoing the product, you know, and when they have all of this other stuff that they have to deal with, which is normal, but if we can take that off of them, then the writing in a breakdown and handwriting it, when production gets it, it's such a seamless transition. You know, production looks at the breakdown, it has everything that the rep priced on it. If they have stuff priced on there that they didn't sell and they deactivated it, it still has it on the breakdown, but it has an asterisk next to it that says it's not included. And there's been a lot less negative communication, I would say, between production and sales, because production says, hey, this doesn't look right on the contract, Mike. Oh, okay, well, hold on, let me go change it so that it looks the way that production wants it to look, and I'll let the reps know. Okay, great. Boom, that happens like that. We don't have to reorder contracts. You know, take 2 weeks, 3 weeks to have carbon copy contracts come in with 2 or 3 words edited on the contract. It literally happens in real time. So,
and Mike, you're using Improve It 360 to house all of this information so that anybody that needs to have access to it has access to it and things like that, right? For efficiency purposes. I'm assuming that that's, you know, one of the things that's a little bit different in the world of technology is that you're not handing off contracts or emailing things like that. They're actually able to see all that information in one place, right?
that's correct. Yes, everything gets uploaded onto the appointment tab in 360. The days of, wait, I don't have that addendum in the folder. Well, what do you mean you don't have that addendum? My rep turned it in. Well, I don't know where the addendum is. And the rep might have not turned it in. The rep might have turned it in. Who knows? But the bottom line is we don't have that addendum and we need it. That conversation doesn't even happen anymore because everything lives on the appointment. Everyone can go right onto the appointment, pull up the contract, the breakdown, the measurement report, whether that be Hover or Eagle View, whatever. So yes, it makes everything. There's a lot less questions of what are we doing,
Right.
because everything's set up that way to be a fail-safe.
And you guys also use kind of the project part of Improve It 360 as well, where, you know, you've got the different templates and running the project side of things where there's visibility to each step of each project and things like that, so that everybody, you know, again, it's all about visibility, right? When you're talking about technology and real-time information, both on the sales side, but also most importantly on the flip side of being able to identify, you know, are there issues happening with the different projects just by simply looking at a dashboard, right? Or looking at the production calendars or whatever it may be. You know, that's really the value of technology, is real-time information and the sharing of that information in real time.
I could not agree more with you. When a rep writes a change addendum, a change order, as soon as that gets signed and uploaded into 360, when that document that has change addendum in the wording of the PDF gets uploaded, it automatically puts the sale and or the project on hold, notifies and creates a task for our processing department or our production department that they must go look at that job and see what the addendum's for. And then they have to take it off hold and processing on the sale tab, and then production has to take it off a hold before they can order it on the production side. So just simple things like that of Well, hey, we changed the color from charcoal black to moire black. Okay, well, in the past, there's a good chance charcoal black got delivered to that job. And then it's not the right black. And what are we doing? We're paying to return it. We're paying to order more, and it's costing us money. And this takes that out of it. So yeah, it's live, real time. If the production manager has a question, they can chatter the sales manager and the rep. Boom, they get an email. Hey, I got a question on this. They respond to the email. It gets uploaded right into 360, answers the question, and we keep moving on to the next job.
Awesome. Thanks. Appreciate the questions too, Caroline. It's great. So as we go moving on here, and we may have touched on this a little bit earlier, but I'd love for you to expand on it more. What are some tips you would recommend companies adhere to when they're evaluating tech for their business?
Implementation. I cannot say that enough. I know we touched on it earlier, but it's worth talking about again. That is the tip. Whatever you come up with. So 2 things. 1, can we implement this? 2, are we changing anything that we're doing right now? Are we just kind of changing shoes? They still do the same thing. We could walk in them and they cover our feet. Are we just putting on new shoes that are going to be harder for the company to take on? Or are we, getting rollerblades now? I mean, what is the point of doing this? If it makes sense, if it's going to make you more efficient and you've deemed that prior to implementing it, great. That's question 1 answered. Now, how do we implement this? Who is going to own this? We have a co-employer that we've really been utilizing lately, and we've been using the RACI method, RACI, responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. So if we have a task, we make somebody the R, and they're responsible for it. They're responsible for being kind of leading it, delegating, and giving their opinions. The accountable person, that's the one that's really in the meat and potatoes. They're making sure they're doing everything, but they're using their consultants and informed people in the company to gather their ideas and come up with that implementation process. So if you have the ability to break that down and have somebody be, hey, you're the champion of this new tech implementation. Okay, great. Somebody's going to be monitoring you, but then these 2 people are going to be consulting with you and giving the information. And then you're going to have these 2 or 3 people that are going to be informing you on if that makes sense. So there's kind of a checks and balances when it comes, and it makes the implementation a hell of a lot smoother.
I could not agree more with you, Mike, on that. I mean, when we're talking with potential prospects and customers that are going to start through our onboarding process, one of the things that we do talk about is, really evaluating your existing processes, right? And and be honest about it. Like, where are there places for efficiencies? Because, we can all look at a process and go, yeah, it works for us. But the reality of it is, could it be better? And if it could be better, then be open to making changes to your existing processes to be able to see the benefit in the long run, right? It's also about not only identifying those processes, but documenting those processes so that when you're going through a process of change, right, you have that information accessible. And then, like you said, identifying a team of people that will be responsible for making this successful. Because what we see a lot of times is that business owners are making these business decisions to move forward with technology. But the folks that actually are in the weeds of implementation and using the system and things like that may not have been involved in this decision-making process, right? So they're getting thrown into a project that A, they don't know a whole lot about, and B, realize that it's going to be a whole lot of work for them. So we encourage, business owners, whoever's making decisions like this on technology, to involve the entire team, right? Because it is going to be a team effort for success. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's all about the implementation, because, you know, we can all talk about how great things are going to be, but the reality of it is that there is time and effort that it takes to implement any type of software, whether it's something like QuickBooks that everybody uses every day, or technology like, you know, Leap and Hover and Improve It 360 that are really going to take your businesses to the next level. It's a commitment to change.
Oh, it absolutely is. And the one thing you said, Caroline, that the people who are making these decisions, yes, are generally the business owners, and they're not going to be the ones that are going to be in it every day. And that's okay that they're making these decisions. I think the one awesome thing about Long is our owner, John DePaula, realizes what his strengths are, and he has many of them, but he realizes that maybe IT is not his thing. So he trusts us to make these decisions and trust us. And he always says one thing: make sure you can implement it. And so that's something that's really unique, because a lot of times the owners don't relinquish control, especially on big decisions that are going to change the way the company is operated.
Right.
But John does that very well, and you know, it's worked out for us. You know, for us millennials to get all up in the IT thing.
There you go. And we love that. You know, I think the other thing is too, is that, you know, everybody needs to understand that these business decisions are being made for a reason. So even if the person is in charge of the project, they really do, like you said, it has to be a team effort of management, of other departments, everything like that, staying involved.
Agreed.
Yeah, no, that's great. Really appreciate that. I think that sheds a lot of good insight into kind of what goes into evaluating tech. I know it's, you know, same thing we do at Leap, right? There's a whole roadmap that we like to show folks that, like, hey, this is what it's going to take to get up and running. You know, who's the designated point person? Do you have time to commit to this? And really making it communicating it as clear as possible. Like, these are the steps. This is what it's going to take. And so, you know, implementation needs to be a prioritization if you want to, you know, take your company to the next level and utilize tech. And that, and again, like you said, that goes across the board really for any kind of technology that you want to adapt. One of the things we like to say too, or I should say, one of the old sayings that we hear is the you know, we've always done it this way. And so they say that that's the most dangerous.
God, I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that. Well,
Yeah,
why do you
stop those words.
Yeah, I tell you what, anyone on this call, if you ask a question to anyone in your organization and they say, well, that's just what we've always done, stop right there. Why? That's the question. Why? And generally it's going to come to, well, I don't know. And they might get frustrated. Well, that's just what we've always done. But why are you doing that? Well, we don't know. Okay, well, let's look at how we can change it and make it better.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's important to remember. You know, when you're looking at evaluating tech and you see something that you know, is going to cause some kind of disruption, and that it's going to take time to implement or you know, train or whatever it may be. It's you know, remembering what that end goal is and the efficiencies that it's going to provide and how it's going to help your business. So no, that's great. Really appreciate that insight. I'm sure, you know,
Hey,
folks
Tom, I'm stealing your implementation has to be a prioritization statement. I'm rolling with that. Like, you have no business, no idea. Thank you for that. That was awesome.
Tom, I wrote that down too. So
great. So that's we're going to move into the Q&A section of this. There are quite a few questions queued up. For those of you that are on, go ahead and in your GoToWebinar control panel, there's a spot there for questions. Go ahead and ask away. I'm going to try to get to as many of these as possible and allow you know, Mike to answer them. If we don't get to all of them, then we'll definitely circle back with you. But let me let's see if I find the first one here. All right, Mike. Are you using Hover Connect where customers send in their photos to you and then you send a quote?
So we do use Hover Connect, not in the way where we just send a quote. We just don't believe that that's the most effective way of quoting a job, being there in person is the best. Now, obviously, we've had to call slight audible on a couple. We'll do that on rentals. Hey, Mr. Jones calls in. He lives in Texas. He owns a house in Virginia. He's never going to be here. Okay, great. We'll send the hover request to the renter. They take the pictures, and then we'll jump on a Zoom meeting with them and go over the particulars of a job. But we don't want to just send the quote blindly. Here you go, and then move on. That hasn't worked out for us in the past. So yes, I think that is big right now for people who do not want us on their property at all. We just did it yesterday. Sent the customer the hover request. They took the pictures. We got it back. We jumped on a Zoom meeting with them. We went over everything, showed them all the products, and then sent them a contract and moved forward with the job. So yes, I think it's a great tool when used correctly. Don't give the customer the out of being able to take the pictures and then just send the quote and hope, cross your fingers that they call you.
Mike, I just have to say, I think that like 10 years ago, if we thought about people buying cars off the internet, everyone would have thought we were all crazy, right? And now we've got things like Carvana. Your organization doing remote selling is really kind of breaking the norm, right, in this world. I think people would probably be really interested as to just like what you've learned in the very short amount of time that you've been doing that about engaging with prospects remotely. I think that probably would be really helpful for folks.
Yeah, it's hard. It is not easy. Everything we've been taught in this business, in the in-home sales world, is body language, looking at someone. 70% of communication is nonverbal. So all of that, it takes it out of it. The warm up is not like it is when you're in someone's house and you're looking at their fridge and you see all the pictures and their kids are running around and there's more to talk about.
Right.
So it takes not all of our reps can do it. But there's some, they just can't. I mean, they can't, some don't want to, some aren't comfortable with it, but the ones who are, they are running with it and doing well with it. Now, is the closing the same as when we're in person? Absolutely not.
Right.
But
they're still closing. So
yeah, there's not an option to be in front of them. So, 10%, 15, 20, 25% is more than zero.
Right. And so I think that, Tom's team and our team and your team, I mean, all of us sell remotely a lot. Like that's how we do our world in most circumstances. And I've been doing it for 20 years and things like that. I think all of us, if folks that are on the call, have some ideas or questions around, doing this remotely, we're all more than happy to answer any questions because you're right. It is different. I've been doing it for about 20 years. You have to stop and ask questions. You have to be much more engaging because you can't see their eyes. You can't see if they're looking at each other with like, oh man, are you kidding me kind of things. So, you know what I mean? So it's just a little bit different, but I really think that you guys taking the at-home sales to the virtual at-home sales is just amazing. And honestly, if we think about where technology could go, this is something that I don't think is necessarily going to go away in this industry. I think it's going to potentially make us think a little bit differently around the multiple different ways that you can engage with customers and still be successful.
I agree. I don't think in the near future it's going to ever go to 100% this. But in the next 10, 15 years, I mean, I could see the millennial generation pushing this to, I don't want someone in my house sitting at my kitchen table. I want you to send me a hover request so I can take the pictures and then we can jump on a Zoom meeting and I'll buy then,
Yep.
So let's be prepared for when that comes and not have to scramble to get it implemented when and if that day comes.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. There's a couple more questions I wanted to get to. There's some I guess simple ones like Mike, what devices are being used by the sales team? They use iPads, laptops. What kind of technology do they use hardware wise?
So we use all iPads due to Leap being an iOS exclusive app. So the big thing about the iPads is I also use a mobile device management system. It's called JAMF now, JAMF now. That has made it a lot easier. So we went to iPads probably about 3 years ago, and a rep has an issue with the iPad. They got to drive to the office. They have to give it to me. I have to figure it out and then give it back to them, and then they go run the next appointment. The mobile device management makes it huge to be able to go on to JAMP's website and push updates to them. I can take over control of their iPad and help them with anything if they're having an issue with it. So iPad is what we use. If you're going to use any kind of tablet, I would just say definitely look into a mobile device management software that you can manage from the office or anywhere.
Yeah, great. I'm just trying to get through a few more questions here for the folks. Your sales training, is that pre-recorded, or do you do it live via Zoom, or what's that look like?
Now, our training was for new reps is in person, minus our little one-off that we did a couple weeks ago with our Boston rep. That was all virtual. I believe that the most effective way is to do it in person. So we have 2 weeks of training, and I am with the reps in the training room I do about 6 hours a day with an hour lunch. I think that's the attention span of the reps and attention span of me to get them the information. So they do 10 days of that. They do ride-alongs and shadows starting the second week after training's over during the day, and then they start getting out on their own.
Yeah, awesome. I got one last question here, and then we'll sort of wrap this up. But this question just came in. Any advice for encouraging digital adoption for old school owner? I think that's a great question.
I love that question.
I do too. I love that question. I tell you what, whoever asked that question, anyone on this, please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Tom, if you want to put my email and phone number up on the chat. I think the big thing is find somebody for that old school. That's funny because it sounds like John asking me the same question. Find somebody in your organization that can run with this, that can champion this. I'd be more than happy to talk to you and help you out with anything to get you rolling with it. But the old school, just that you asked that question, you're 80% of the way there, because most of the old school quote unquote owners aren't even looking at that. I don't want to do it because they don't know. They're scared of it because they're unsure of what it's going to do. I would say that take a slow approach to it. Make sure you ask a lot of questions and make sure that you're able to have someone that's going to implement it and stay on top of it moving forward.
I also throw this out there. People ask me this a lot, and I think that it's also about whomever asked that question. Do you have a cell phone that you're using on a day-to-day basis? Because if you do, you're already using technology. It is like anything else that you do for your business, whether it's learning how to use QuickBooks or learning how to use, I don't know, a Word document or something like that. It just takes a little bit of time. And everybody is okay. I mean, I talk about my mom, God love her, who's 74 now, has an iPhone, plays her little slot machine games on it, FaceTimes me a little bit too closely, I might add, but like, people are using technology of all ages. It's not something that anyone should be afraid of. And, part of our jobs as partners with you as different companies is to ensure your success and help you through that process.
Yeah, Caroline, great segue. For folks on the webinar that want to get more information about Improve It 360, I've put up your information, but is there anything else that they should know or reach out to or do?
Yeah, if you go to the website, there is a kind of that button, that orange button of get a free demo, that would be, it's not necessarily a demo, it's really a conversation. So if you'd have, just do that, and we will definitely have somebody reaching out as quickly as possible. Existing customers, if you have specific questions on anything, you can always, put in a support ticket, Zendesk, whatever, as well.
And Caroline, if I could just add one more thing to, what you're talking about with tech and implementing it, not be scared of it. Folks, the hardest thing that we do is go into a house and ask for thousands and thousands of dollars after a couple hours. If we can do that, anyone can implement any kind of technology. Just like Caroline said, you use your cell phone. Okay, you're using tech. 20 years ago, we pulled over on the side of the road and put a dime in the pay phone to make a phone call. And now we're doing Zoom meetings while we're up on an airplane. So we've just evolved with it. And if we can go in a house and sell 15, 20, 10, 30, $100,000 jobs, anybody can implement tech.
Yeah, I chuckle at that too, Mike, because I've done the same of using WhatsApp and Zoom and stuff in the air to to communicate, and it's kind of amazing where technology has come.
Yeah.
But just to wrap this up, my information is on the screen as well. If you'd like to learn more about Leap, please reach out to us. The email there or at the website leap2digital.com, and of course you can give us a call. But Mike, I really wanted to thank you for coming on here and sharing all that valuable information. There's a lot of questions that came in that we didn't get to, but we'll definitely follow up with everybody. But just wanted to thank you for the time, and thanks for sharing your experience and your knowledge with us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. Thank you, Leap. Caroline, thank you.
Thank you.
And yeah, you guys are great. So anybody, like I said, anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly.
Awesome. Well, appreciate everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Again, if you have any questions, let us know. We're all available to help you out. But I want to say thank you and enjoy the rest of your day. Stay healthy.